Good news and bad news. Let's get to the good news right away. It's coming to the Venice Film Festival. Now, if you're not a big film historian or expert, you're sort of like, who cares? What does this mean? What's the significance? Well, it doesn't guarantee, because you can't guarantee anything nowadays, but for a while we've been speculating whether it'll end up on HBO Max, whether it will even be theatrically released. A lot of things that happen with Warner Brothers in terms of its mergers, its deals, and so on and so forth. And Denis himself has been vocal in that he didn't like the HBO Max kind of idea, and he really was pressing for a full-blown theatrical release. Well, again, we can't guarantee, but now that they're putting it in the Venice Film Festival, it's pretty much now locked in. They are going to give it a theatrical release, and they're going to give it a big theatrical release. Because the Venice Film Festival is a little weird. Like, all these film festivals are very commercial, but the Venice Film Festival is more about merit and the quality of film. For instance, with Cannes, people think that's something that where critics judge a film on its quality. No, Cannes is where you go to sell a film. It's there to promote the film, but they don't really care about its quality. They just want to know if you can sell it to a market. But the Venice Film Festival is usually a good marker that the film is actually a quality film. It's a good film. It's a great film. And you're very confident that it can be judged fairly and critics will promote it. So this is very good news for people who are sort of on the fence whether this adaptation is of high quality. Again, we're going to have to wait to see the whole thing, the plot, the narration, and style. But we can definitely say a few things about it now because they released a few new things with this announcement. As we can see, we now have a totally brand new image from Dune. Again, as far as I know, this has never ever been released. So this is a completely new image, and they're giving a kind of taste of how the film is going to look and what we can expect from it. And as we can see, it's incredibly beautiful, very, very top of the line photography. Now, Denis is not working with Roger Deakins, who's one of the best cinematographers in the world, but this is still incredibly good. It's incredibly beautiful and very detailed and very true to the novel. Right? You can sort of see a knife on the suit by Chani. So this isn't just there to look beautiful. This is a very functional suit that's there to protect them and to be used out on the desert. Added to this, there are some additional details, but I think those actually give me some room for doubt. For instance, it's going to be co-written with Eric Roth, and I'm not a big fan of his work. He's done Forrest Gump and Benjamin Button, and I have a very low opinion of those films. I just don't think they're very good. I don't like their politics. I don't like their style. I don't like their direction. I almost like nothing about those films. Probably the only thing I can recommend about those films is the music score. I think that was fine in both cases, but otherwise I really don't like those films. And I don't like him as a writer overall. But he has told us that there is a treatment for the Dune sequel. Now, Denis has not been able to confirm they are locked in with a sequel, right? Because we're really only getting a huge chunk of the book, but not the whole book. So Dune, the film, will not be the entirety of the novel. It will just be a lot of the novel, but not the whole thing. And he has said he made a treatment which the Herbert estate has looked at. Treatment, to put it very briefly, is essentially a very detailed plot summary of what the film should be. Right, you basically give the basic gist of what the film is, where it's going to go, its major acts, and so on and so forth. And he says he did do that for the Dune sequel, but that's about it. So they have not even started on the script for Dune 2, not be Dune the sequel, right, in terms of the novels, but the sequel to this film. So they have not yet committed to doing the second part of Dune. So it's still a little bit up in the air, but the fact that they have seen a treatment suggests that they're very confident that this film will do well and that they'll want to revisit the project to finish off, quote, the Denis film. And I expect Denis will be there to finish the film, although technically, right, they could give it to another director. And added to this is that the producer of the film is Brian Herbert, the son of Frank Herbert, and he's fully endorsed the Denis version. He thinks it's the definitive version of Dune, so he's very confident that this is going to be a very great film and a great project. But again, a lot of things can happen. The film festival will take place from September 1 to September 11th. So a lot of things could happen. Maybe the critics will not like it. Maybe it's not as good as we think it is. But again, the fact that they're willing to put it to these critics and that they're willing to finally world premiere it, because again, so far they've only had test screenings. That's it. No one else besides the actual creators as well as these test screened audiences have seen Dune. So Dune has never been shown to the world. But once they put it into Venice, it will finally have its actual world premiere. So it does speak highly that the film industry is getting back to normal, that they're very confident this is going to be critically appraised and approved, and that they have a lot of confidence behind Dune as a film. But again, they are still not committed to the sequel. That's still up in the air. And again, how big the theatrical release, we're still not sure. But assuming that they're going to still do this with Venice, I assume it's going to be given a very healthy theatrical release. So, again, not much new news, but we now have a few more details about what will happen with Dune, the film, come this fall. All right, this has been The Worlds of Dune. Thank you for listening.